Depictions of ducks have a long tradition in art history. Paintings of the 15th to the 17th century had different meanings for ducks. They used them as a symbol of the soul, of love, of lecherousness, or of foolishness. In his pictures, Michael Bedard has added another meaning to the ducks: the fragility of human life. In Bedard's paintings, the ducks themselves do not find the depicted situations worrisome or dangerous. Thus, in Life in a Balance, the ducks walking on the tightrope do not even perceive the threatening alligators on the ground. The outcome is uncertain. One possibility is that the ducks will ultimately reach the end of the tightrope and be safe. The other possibility is that the difficult acrobatic act will result in a fall of the ducks, and there is no safety net available. Only the viewer, not the acting figures, notices the fragility, and usually even he does so only on second glance. Bedard's ducks are consciously kept generic, since he intends them as a symbol. They represent a general type and thus are not distinguished between male and female, old and young, or rich and poor. This very general presentation achieves a further effect. The viewers recognize themselves or others in the ducks, and thus have a broad identification with the figures. In his sitting ducks paintings, Bedard often includes alligators to represent a threatening situation, like in Getting Away from It All. In this painting, the alligators outnumber and surround the unsuspecting duck that is enjoying life, sunbathing, listening to music, eating potato chips, smoking, and drinking beer. The duck's eyes are closed, and thus it does not face reality and notice the approaching predators. While the duck does not suspect any danger to be nearby, the viewer knows that the duck is facing a more than difficult situation. The proximity of the alligators to the duck results in an anticipation of a negative outcome. Nevertheless, and typical for paintings by Bedard, the end is open. The humor in this and other paintings is subtle. It is needed to diffuse the situation and to offer a relief. It thus does not serve merely to entertain. Bedard's pictures of ducks can give a humorous impression, but their primary effect is other. They trigger thought processes in the viewer. As in Life in a Balance or Getting Away from It All, the protagonists in most of Bedard's duck pictures are not aware of the situation that they are in. Thus, in Ship of Fools, they are having a grand old time and don't notice that their ship is heading for a threatening, brewing storm. This work is based on the book Narrenschiff, Ship of Fools, written in 1494 by Sebastian Brandt. The book is a moral satire dealing with a ship of fools, each with his own category of folly and weaknesses, like megalomania, egoism, and blind faith in authority. On the way to Foolagonia, Bedard's Ship of Fools, however, is on its way to a possible disaster. In the history of art, the motif of the Ship of Fools has often been taken up, including by Albrecht Dürer, Hieronymus Bosch, and Hans Holbein the Younger, however with a different message than the one contained in Bedard's version. Bedard's paintings are reminiscent of still frames from cartoon films. As a result, a superficial glance might regard paintings like Reality Show as drawings for children, cute little ducks, or comic figures, which is not what they are at all. Such a judgment clings to the external form and does not penetrate to the message of the paintings or the drawings. This possible misinterpretation is connected with the great popularity of drawings of ducks in cartoons and in comics, but their content and intentions are completely different from Bedard's duck pictures. It simply transfers these things onto Bedard's work. For a long time, it seemed as if the presence of humorous content was enough to make a picture an inferior work of art. It was long erroneously thought that art always had to be serious. Only something truly serious could be, quote, high art. Thus, the humorous graphic oeuvre of Honoré Daumier in the 19th century was not regarded as art. This viewpoint did not lastingly change until the 1960s through pop art, which questioned the reigning conventions. Roy Lichtenstein brought even the world of comics, until then frowned upon, into art. From then on, humor in art was no longer a taboo theme. In Light at the End of the Tunnel, a duck is jauntily walking on rails in a dark tunnel towards a light that appears in the background. The dark environment creates an atmosphere of discomfort and intimidation. Therefore, it is comprehensible to see the duck being attracted by the bright light that seems to indicate the exit of the tunnel. A second glance, however, initiates a thought process that qualifies the initial statement. What if the light does not represent sunlight at the end of the tunnel, but the headlight of an approaching train? The joy of leaving the dark tunnel would immediately turn into a threatening situation. The duck does not seem to have considered the second possibility so far, as it would then try to run away from the light. Once more, Bedard does not indicate which alternative is the right one. It is up to the viewer to interpret the situation and to come to a conclusion on the outcome of the scene. Bedard's probably most political duck picture is Slightly Left of Center, which plays in the America of George W. Bush. In this picture, an unsuspecting duck sunbathes on a rural highway. Its, quote, mistake is to lay somewhat too far to the left, instead of being on the right-hand side. The sign reading Rough Road is to be understood not only as a traffic sign, but also politically characterizes the duck's further road in life. The approaching truck is painted in the U.S. national colors of red, white, and blue, and the viewer can speculate about what will happen in just a few moments. Just as Grant Wood's painting's Death on Ridge Road of 1935 depicts the moment immediately before the car collides with the truck, Bedard too shows the last seconds before the accident. The title of Wood's painting provides certainty about the fatal outcome of the event. Bedard's title, by contrast, leaves the end open and directs the viewer's attention to the cause of the duck's unfortunate situation. The fragility of human life is also intimately related to environmental destruction and global warming. Thus, it is not surprising to find a painting by Bedard devoted to this topic. In Going with the Flow, several isolated icebergs and floes are found in the sea. There is an astonished duck comfortably sitting on an armchair that does not realize what is really going on. This duck represents man's inaction regarding environmental problems. Using artistic means, Bedard depicts the melting away of the polar ice. The duck figure and the armchair, symbolizing the duck's regular life and environment, are not as sharp and clear-cut as in other paintings. They are blurred and already melting and dissolving like the icebergs. The tiny flow below the armchair suggests how much time is left to react to this ecocide. Going with the Flow is a silent painting with a loud message. Bedard's ducks are a symbol of fragility, but the paintings do not attempt to influence the viewer's behavior in any direction. Rather, they stimulate cognition about the picture's motif, but leave things open in all directions on what conclusions are to be drawn. We all encounter many situations in our lives that require decisions to be taken. Many of those decisions are difficult or hard, and very often we do not know what to decide. We might feel like the duck in Crossroads. It knows that any decision will influence its fate, but it does not know what the future will hold after taking that decision. It is in a fragile situation, a typical situation for a Bedard painting. Bedard's art is much more complex and much deeper than it appears on first glance. The picture's surface humor seduces the viewer to the erroneous assumption that they are slight fare. But in reality, they provoke thought, and this process of thinking continues long after one no longer has the pictures before their eyes. This makes Bedard's paintings very special indeed.